Oh, right now?
3, 2, 1.
Oh, sorry. I thought she was talking about the We Are the CD. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. Apologies for our delay. We have like some new fancy cameras and a whole new setup here. And so we were trying to make sure everything is ready to go. I didn't know that we were actually starting our We Are the CD. So forgive me for that. I'm your host, Trae Holiday, and we welcome you on the last day of June. It is June 30th. We got some stuff to get right into. We have a guest, so we want to get right into it this morning. Got to throw it over to my guy, Big O. Been out here on the scene. What's up, O?
Hey, what's up? Good morning, Trae Holiday.
Good morning.
In the building. I you know, yesterday it was me that was Dre. I see you over there. Yawning a little bit and everything. Huh?
I'm good to go, man.
You good to go?
Good to go.
All right. Well, first of all, man, I want to say thank you to everybody. You know, yesterday was such a tough day. Just all the way around. So tired. Been out here like for a long time. Actually, yesterday marked 1 month of continuous coverage here on these protests. And, man, so many people reached out, you know what I'm saying, words of encouragement and everything else. And as you can see, I told you I was going to go and press the reset button as usual, you know, wake up my very positive and optimistic self. Yeah. And, you know, voila, here I am. But of course, you know, very thankful for our audience. Just a bunch of nice people here in Seattle, across the state, across the country, even internationally, we have people who watch us. So thank you again for your care and your concern.
Love it, man. I mean, these people know, man. They've been watching your live stream, watching your coverage. You've been out here nonstop. So I'm glad that people could give you that support, give you that love. You got to feel it from the people, man.
Feeling the love.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I'm glad you're good, looking good today, man. You look nice and spry, my friend.
I'm telling you. I got some good sleep, you know what I'm saying, left here, went home. And then for today, I'm looking forward to actually get offset because the Deaf Chef stopped by. He brought us lunch over here. So, you know what I'm saying, we're on a roll. But because we started the show, we're going to kind of breeze through the show this morning. First thing is that, you know, it's kind of news but not news that SDOT came this morning and they removed the 10th Avenue barricade. We've been talking about that occurring for quite a few days. We didn't get confirmation exactly that it was going to happen this morning. We knew that Seattle Parks and Human Services would be on the ground, and I'll talk a little bit about what Human Services is going to be doing. And so the bulldozers came in, man, around 9-ish, and those bulldozers were quick too. It's a whole different kind of bulldozer they use. And so got down there, got a little bit of footage, and also talked to Police Chief Adrian Diaz, who was on the scene with about 6 or 7 officers. If we could play that clip right now. What's up?
We're just doing these down here.
Yeah, this is the 10th Avenue. I mean, everybody knew it was coming. I mean, it's fucked up though because Parks was real misleading this morning. But I understand.
Correct. We're just, I need your body all day. Getting some of the doors removed outside.
Good morning. Man, I'm all right.
That'll be, for right now. Just trying to make sure.
Yeah, just hold it right here.
Support for no. Right now, at this time, this is just this location. Trying to open up this area.
Let's get Chief Diaz here.
Yeah, so, I mean, we've been in and out around the perimeter throughout this whole time. As you imagine, the shootings actually were in some of this area in response to those shootings. But this is also just trying to open up some of this area for everyone to be able to drive through.
Any way we can turn you around, Chief? And get the barricades behind you?
Any concerns?
All right, Chief, can you tell us what's going on now?
Right now,
let me get this info right here. This is important info right here. Thank you.
What's up, Chief?
Right now, we're just trying to open up 10th and Pine. So we removed several barriers that were in and around this location. We had a sign that was removed. We're just assisting SDOT in being able to have them safely be able to get their machines and being able to pick up some of these barriers.
Right. Are these the same barricades that some of the protesters had a conversation with some of the people who've been on the ground? I know some of the mayor's people, some of the SDOT people have been here.
I know there was some discussion about getting these barriers removed on Sunday, and this is some of those barriers that we're removing right now.
Do you have any plans to go further up into the Pine Street near the East Precinct today?
Right now, we're just trying to move these ones, and then we'll be able to assess what our equipment can hold.
So you're not going up on 12th today or by Fire Station 25?
Right now, I'm not. Right now, I don't believe so.
Any concerns that there could be resistance and protesters who are upset about the removal?
So far, everything's been peaceful this morning, so this is a good sign. And we're just trying to make sure that people in the park are getting services that our departments. Many of our departments are out there today already, trying to reach out to people and getting people housing and other services. So that's a continued effort. Having this being able to be cleaned up and being able to allow traffic to start to move through is another positive sign. So hopefully as we do these incremental steps that we'll have a good, safe outcome.
What's the plan for getting back into the East Precinct?
Right now we're not in full discussion. This is making sure that we have our roads opened and having the ability to get people some needed services, because there's a lot of people in crisis in and around this area. And those are the primary functions right now, and then figuring out what the next steps are and being able to acquire that precinct.
And final question from me, Chief. Did yesterday's shooting and murder have anything to do with SPD and SDOT coming in today to do this work?
No, this has been a process that we started last Friday, and then we acknowledged that on Sunday that we were going to come in as well, and then today was just another avenue for us to be able to see if we can't get in and be able to clear some of this area.
I got a question
that
from...
the park is closing at noon?
That I can.
Sir,
that's a different
why are the police here today, though? And that this was an SDOT and Seattle Parks kind of mission. The last time they came in here, there was no police presence. Why is there a police presence today? Did SDOT request you, or did you guys volunteer for that, or did the chief assign you to it?
No, we're just working in a mutual partnership. We've always been in assistance with SDOT in a lot of different functions. Friday, they tried to remove some of the barriers. They were met with a little bit of resistance. So today, we just we're working in partnership for this.
Right. Will you guys stay out here whenever SDOT moves now?
No, I think we're going to be moving from this point on. So, thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
So you see right there, Seattle Police Department Deputy Chief Adrian Diaz giving an explanation as to what's going on out in the CHOP earlier. And I mean, a lot of people we've known here on the ground that those barricades were most likely gonna get removed. Well, actually, that they were gonna get removed. The majority of the protesters in the tented area have said for a while now that they had no concern about those particular barricades, and they even in a few different meetings that we either saw or directly heard back about, that they said that they wouldn't meet any resistance, and absolutely no resistance was met with the barricade removal by SDOT. What did happen, though, is that the protesters just built a soft barricade. They took a barricade made of like couches. They took barricades made of like an old stove is out there. There's some sides. I mean, the necessity's the mother of innovation, man. And so there's a new barricade 10 minutes there after SDOT left. Clearly a soft one, though. And the reasoning behind it is a few people was like it was all about safety, but a few other people, they want to protect the Black Lives Matter mural that's right there on Pine Street. And so they don't want any cars going over the mural until there's actually a final plan for it.
Yeah, well, I think that, some of that does make some sense to me. I mean, clearly, there was a barricade down on 10th for a reason. And ultimately, there are some diehard protesters out here who are like, okay, cool, you're not going to meet any resistance. However, we have some things that we want to make sure we protect. And I think that mural is super special. I could understand a bit of that sentiment.
Right. And, in the city, in some of the city's talks, The city, some people are clearly talking beyond CHOP. So whenever this issue is resolved, and they talked about some things staying. Some of the people talked about the garden that's back there, the mural, building a permanent space for conversation because the Conversation Cafe, and the memorial wall. These are just things that you hear from both sides, from the protesters and from the city, as far as that goes. I talked to the Office of Human Services, so that's another department that's here right now. I'm gonna talk to them more in depth when we get off air, but I asked them to text me over exactly what Human Services is doing. And Human Services, one of their big things is Human Services. There is a sizable population over there that is homeless or unhoused, living in tents. And so I talked to Will Lemke, city's Human Services Department. He says, here's what they've been doing. He sent me quite a list, but I'll try to run down here quickly. Human Services is on site today. They have a tent over in Broadway and Pine over at the Seattle Central College. They've been over there. Outreach workers are there and ready to help folks with over services and shelter the unhoused. So, one of the things that we've heard is a lot of people saying they don't have anywhere else to go outside of the park. So it looks like the city is trying to do something there. They were there last week. We did see them there last week in their tent. They brought in community partners and social service providers in the tent, along with sending outreach teams into the CHOP. So they should be walking through the CHOP. DESC has been out there along with Youth Care, Reach, the Urban League, and Mary's Place. So it looks like they partnered with a bunch of different organizations that actually understand that space. Mary's Place is one that really jumps out to me as one that works with people who are homeless or in a marginalized or housing situation. Working to get those agencies back on site today and in the days ahead. City outreach workers will be on site through the afternoon and probably back tomorrow. Since last week, city workers have made 124 engagements, connected 19 people to social services, and referred 18 people to shelter. And he says, we're making sure we have socially distanced shelter that works for young people. That's all he has at the moment. So Human Services, they've been responsive. We wanted to speak to somebody. I'm supposed to talk to Jay Johnson, who's the director of Human Services, after our show today. But it looks like they're trying to make an effort to not necessarily push the homeless or the unhoused population, but they're definitely making an effort to get that park back, while at the same time trying to create a pathway for the unhoused.
Yeah, well, it sounds like that there's a litany of services. And again, I think being smart to understand what is needed, obviously, I don't know if they actually utilize, and I don't know if the survey from the Black Collective Voice would have been helpful, but things like that, taking whatever data they can to make sure that the proper services are here on site is super important right now. And I also think, trying to address maybe some of the public concerns around the area involving health and wellness. And so it's good that they have those agencies on board.
Right. And I think that one of the things Seattle Parks is doing, as well as Human Services, part of their action is in response to the residents and people living in the neighborhood. Just a heads up that we can hear a helicopter over us here. It's been hovering for quite a while. Don't know what's happening outside, but we're here in the CHOP. It's always something going on. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we have Coach Dom. He goes, that's what they call him on the streets. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? In the boardroom too, though. Yeah. But we've got Coach Dominic Davis. He's from Community Passageways. An organization that's really, when we use the word marginalized, a lot of times it's been working with youth in a lot of the legacy neighborhoods of Seattle, which the Central District and the South End, but also into Greater King County. He's one of the people that have been deployed here on the ground, and we want to be able to talk to him about his observations, but also, Triana, there has been a considerable uptick in violence in the South End and the CD, and some of it actually very well might have its roots right here in the CHOP. But a lot of what's going on in South Seattle is underreported because a lot of media resources, even like ourselves, are talking about what's going on right here. So Coach Dom will kind of bring us up to speed on that as well. So,
yeah, that's good.
Yep, so we'll take a short break right now. We'll be right back. You are watching the Morning Update Show.
Well, everyone, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. I'm your host, Trae Holiday, and we're really excited to be bringing on Coach Dom. He is here in the building from Community Passageways. You've been doing a lot of work on the streets, Dom.
Yeah, I've been pretty busy. I came up here when the protests first started happening and they were pushing the hard line with the police. I was coming up here, coming and dropping in, supporting that movement. But then when it developed into CHOP, I felt like that's not my lane, so I just fell back and let this develop into what it was going to develop into. I didn't know what was really going on, so because I'm really busy doing work in the South Seattle, South King County area, the Central District, trying to deal with the issues that have been systemically happening in our community for a long time, way before CHOP ever existed. So yeah, we've been busy. We've been busy putting this work in. It's been something.
And you really, Community Passageways, you guys are really focused on helping youth in terms of affecting them in the system. Mm-hmm. I know, just literally before the show started, you were on the phone with a young person, literally talking about them not having a lawyer. You're going to be there when they do please help us understand what you actually do for Community Passageways, because it's so many hats.
Yeah, I have to explain that a lot. So we're a felony diversion program. I seen that I was one of the founders of Choose 180 back in 2010, 2011, with a group of other people, and we were diverting misdemeanors out of the system. So when I realized after about 5 years of doing that work that this is really working and was doing a good job, we diverted like 3,000 or so misdemeanors out of juvenile courts. But I was also seeing a lot of young black young men and young women going through the system that were facing felony charges, and there was no second chance or no opportunity for them to get a better organization to help them navigate that system, right? And get another chance at doing something better with their life. It was heartbreaking because, I'm doing something with this group of kids, but then you got this group of kids over here that once you commit a felony, it's a wash. You're just going through the system. So I decided I had to do something about it. Hence, now we got Community Passageways. We've been up and running for about 3.5 years, and we've been able to divert about 150 years of prison and jail time off the table in 3.5 years. So it's been pretty powerful work.
Right. Now, you're here in the CHOP. I saw you, was it yesterday or the day before? You had actually called me a week ago. You're like, man, what's going on down there? What's happening? And yesterday you came. I think one of the first things you did was actually sit with us, to at least kind of get our perspective. Mm-hmm. After moving around over here, and I know you talked to quite a few people in the tented area and everything else. Mm-hmm. What are some of your first impressions over here in CHOP? And maybe you can talk about, your approach as to how you're usually dealing with the people you deal with on the South End and the CD, and how someone like you on the ground might be a part of the pot. I don't think there's a silver bullet with this or one thing and it's whatever. But what we do know is that for us, we talked about it yesterday, even as Converge, we sit here and do a lot of work that people like yourself could probably do, or do de-escalation, trying to, communication, this person, that person, everything else. I've asked you a lot of things all in one time, but let's start with the first thing. What were some of your impressions of the CHOP yesterday?
First of all, when I came here, I came with the mindset of I'm not here to save anybody. I'm not here to fix anything. I'm here to learn. So I walked in wanting to learn and get information. That's one of the reasons why I reached out to you to talk to you, because you're here every day, and I wanted to talk to the people on the ground. And so my first impression was, who are the leaders here? Like, where's the leadership? Is there a leadership team here that I could talk to and get information from? Because the way I've been able to position myself in the community is I'm in the community, 109,000. This is my whole body, mind, and soul is in the community. But I've been able to have to navigate systems in order to benefit my community and get the results that I want out of what the work that I do, right? And so I got a unique position where I can push systems in a direction sometimes and put some things on the table. So when I'm here, I came here with the lens of what can I do to find out information from you guys here to be able to take it back to systems and say, here's what needs to happen for these people. This is what they need over here. You need to answer some of these demands and give these people what they need. Here's my biggest thing that I took away from yesterday was we're dealing with people First of all, institutional racism and oppression is the reason why this is happening in the first place, period. And I think we're starting to lose a grip on the fact that institutional racism and oppression has put us in this position. No matter all the circumstances that are happening around here, all the violence or whatever's going on, institutional racism perpetuated that. There's people that have been marginalized, disenfranchised, and their voices have not been heard. They have not been able to put a stake and say they own anything. They've been underserved by every system that there is, by every government system. So after I realized that, I'm saying these people found a voice. They found something to put their stake into and say they own. They're not being harassed by police or systems, right? They developed their own community and their own system. And they really feel like they found their oasis of, I can stick my chest out and be proud of something now. Whereas oppressive systems have decimated that for all kind of people of color. But even white folks out here that have been oppressed are out here with their stake in the ground saying, this is our area. We own this. We don't get to say that very often, you know?
Yeah,
so that's
so
one of the
true.
first things I walked away with, was seeing that this is what we're seeing and this is what we're dealing with. Now what we need to do is get an understanding of, if you want to do something different here, and this is my opinion, if you want to do something to affect what's going on out here and bring these people into a better position, the people that are in CHOP in a better position, you need to put resources behind them. You need to answer their demands and put resources behind them. Every demand ain't probably going to get answered, but I know that there need to, I'm saying to them yesterday, I'm like, you guys need to go after what you really want right now, right? Don't sit here and just be a sitting duck waiting for these people to come through and bulldoze you. And so that's what I can get deeper into that if you want to ask more questions about that. But I'm going to be careful about my words, you know what I'm saying?
Right. No, well, you should. The whole world's watching. Yeah. And tell us, are there any situations now that you, clearly this CHOP thing is its own world, but are there any kind of similar types of things that you see, you know, in your work in the Central District in South Seattle that kind of might have some parallels even on a one-on-one level or a larger like group level that you've worked with and maybe helped resolve or transition through?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm going to answer that question. I want to talk about how what's happening in CHOP has fallen into our communities in South Seattle.
We definitely.
So I want to go there in a minute. So I'll
answer
answer your question first, and then, so the phone call that I was just on, I'll just use that as an example. Right before I came on, we were sitting next to each other. I'm on the phone with a young man, and the young man was saying how he'd been through all those systems, foster care, CPS, since he was 10, 11, 12 years old, in and out of juvenile, even without even committing a criminal offense. They didn't have nowhere to put him, so they put him in juvenile. So he's been through all these systems that have failed him. Right? This happens regularly every day. I deal with this daily, right? So these systems, so what are we raising? What are we growing? What are we supporting? What do you think the results of this young person's life is going to be as he keeps getting shoved through system after system after system after system? Then as he falls into his adulthood, he has committed some juvenile offenses, survival crimes. You got to survive every day, right? You need to eat. You need to have some money. You need to have some money. So it was a survival crimes that he committed. He got charged as an adult at 15 years old, 16 years old. He got charged. And so then he comes out of that. He says his caseworker says, if you just go to work every day, if you just pay your taxes, if you just do and do some volunteer work in the community, your life will be so much better. You won't have to deal with none of these systems. Well, he started doing that. He started working 2 jobs. He has a kid. He volunteers in the community. He started doing all that. And then all of a sudden, an incident happens. Somebody steals his motorcycle that he built with his own 2 hands for him and his child to ride on. Right? Somebody steals it. He goes back. He sees the people loading it in a truck. He goes to take his motorcycle back. They pepper spray him when their police come. Guess who they criminalized? After they ran his criminal background and found out when he was a juvenile that he had all these charges. Right? Before that, they were helping him wipe the stuff out of his eyes because he got maced by the people that stole it. Right? They were helping him. But then they ran his name, seen the criminal background. Now they criminalized him and said, oh, that must be their motorcycle and you stole it from them. So now he's facing another assault, robbery charge, whatever, right? This is how systems operate. Now the dude's on the phone literally crying to me saying, I did everything right. I did everything right. I've been trying to do everything right. Look what I got to deal with now. Now he's scared they're about to lock him up because when he goes to court today, I got to be on the phone with him at court because he's scared they're going to give him a high bail and lock him up because of his juvenile record. He's like, I'm going to lose both my jobs and I got to take care of my baby. You feel what I'm saying? This is what I deal with every day. Oppressive, racist institutions.
Right.
Yes.
And now tell us, One thing when we talked yesterday, and that's why I thought it was important to bring you on here as well, is even though we're broadcasting from the CHOP, ConvergeMedia is a central district. This is where we're from. You're talking to two bulldogs right here. You know what I'm saying? And when you brought to my attention, you said that there's been an uptick in violence in the South End and part of the Central District and everything else. And there very well might, one that's just underreported as usual. And so we wanted to give you some time here to be able to tell people like what's actually going on out there in the South End, and two, if there's any connection between the shooting up here, I guess almost a week and a half ago, and what might be going on out in the streets.
Okay, yeah. We've been going through in the South End and the CD in our communities in South King County. I've been to so many funerals I can't count. You know what I'm saying? We've been dealing with this gun violence at a very high level for a very, very long time. So now I kind of get a little perturbed when something starts happening in the middle of CHOP and it gets all this national attention, and all of a sudden resources and all the political pundits are all converged on what's happening in CHOP because it's making Seattle look bad and making the politicians in Seattle look bad. Right? But nobody's really addressing, it wasn't all red alert, all hands on deck when we've been going through this for 50, 60, 70 years in our community. Right? And so now what's been happening in CHOP is the young people from our communities have been coming down in here because this is a zone that they feel like they can operate in and do what they want to. And so these shootings have been happening. And there's some other people that have some other dynamics to play, but at the end of the day, black bodies are dropping. Black bodies are dropping. If this is a movement about black lives and making black lives better, and black lives are dropping, then we need to do something. We need to fix something. Only reason why I came here is because of the black bodies that are dropping. And what has happened is because of the first couple of shootings here, the people that want to take revenge and retaliate are coming down to the South End because it was some gang involved people, right? And we've had, for the last 10 days, we've had a couple of drive-bys a day, clearing out our blocks, coming through parking lots. Nobody's reporting that. Nobody's talking about that. Somebody just chased one of my little homies the other day in the program down the block shooting. Like it's just going down every day. And nobody's talking about that. It's just, our community is a war zone now. But we're only talking about CHOP. But what's happening here is falling out into our communities out south, man. Period. That's what's happening.
So it's a ripple effect that we're seeing.
Yes.
From one, what I hear you saying is that black lives are dying here in CHOP, or being wounded and everything else, and that's what brought you out here. The second thing is that activities that have occurred here in CHOP are now impacting really the rest of the city, especially down there in the South End, Central District. And what you're saying is that nearly every day down there's been gun activity, and nobody is talking about it.
No, nobody's talking about it.
Once again, though, too, I think you really hit a really great point, because you said it. Communities of the global majority, that's what I don't say communities of color, but for us, in our communities, we've been dealing with this stuff for 50, 60 years. You said it, and it's so very true. What brought people out here was a racist system, period, point blank. And I talk about that a lot because I think that the CHOP and its characteristics here made it seem as though this was something different than what was going on across the world. Yeah. And really, this is the epicenter of exactly that. People came out here because of systemic oppression and racism. And literally, those are the things that we need to focus on. Yeah. I want to ask you, as you see this kind of wave in CHOP, what do you say in terms of moving this kind of momentum into a larger movement to create those changes?
So I think we should be looking at short-term change and long-term systemic change, right? And so when I found out being in CHOP, and the people here are awesome. I love these people. They're awesome people. And when I started thinking about it, I'm going, the short term needs to be services, resources, and land, property, economic power, period, mental health, physical health, everything that goes along with people being successful. All the things that the white communities get on a daily basis and take for granted, right? All the stuff that have been pulled away from us, that needs to be served to these people in the CHOP. They need to have that. They need to have opportunities to be successful and live a life of peace and prosperity, right? The American dream, which is the American nightmare for a lot of us. And so then what I noticed was We have an opportunity to build off of this platform. If we could get people organized and understand that this is an opportunity that will go to waste if you just keep sitting and doing the same thing. But also I have to call an account for the community leaders and other community organizations to come behind them. And now they are fearless. These guys out here are fearless.
Now that's one thing I will say is, and this show is unique because you got me, who's very much on the journalist side, and you've got Trae, who's very much on community and community organizations. And so, I kind of stay away from painting a picture either way about the protesters. But I will say is that the group that's there right now are very serious. The group that's behind that barricade, the people who are tented, that a lot of people have been distilled out, been filtered and sieved, and who's left right here behind those tents. It's a very serious group of people.
Yes. So how do you combine people from the community that are leaders that can navigate politics and navigate legislation? How do you combine people that know how to navigate the legal system and work the legal system very well and help that people navigate that? How do you combine people that have the background of organization and protesting and marching and know how to put demands together? How do you combine it and bring those people to put the structure behind the fearless souls that are out here? These people are fearless and they're ready to stand strong on their beliefs and their morals. How do you bring that all together? That's what needs to happen. I don't know how soon that can happen, but it needs to happen.
Let me ask you one last question, Don. Man, we got a late start today, so we've got to wrap up. But man, what do you, as one individual, I think we've come to realize that like I said, there is no silver bullet. I remember back in June we interviewed Mayor Durkin, and even back then, she was like, yeah, there is no silver bullet. There's a lot of different things. But what do you individually, Coach Dom, and your organization, what do you hope to achieve out here for your time here on the chopper? Do you plan to come back? Do you plan to continue your conversations here? What role do you see yourself being able to play here?
I see myself being able to play a role where I'm not in here trying to tell nobody what to do. I'm not trying to push nobody in no direction. I want to be that go-between and that mediator to get people what they need. My goal is to save as many lives as I possibly can with whatever skills I can bring to the table. So my goal is to make sure that, here's one of the things I put on the table for the city last night in some conversations with some city folks, because when they reach out and we're having conversations. Property. We need buildings. Buy 2 hotels. Fill up the hotels with everybody. Let them put a system in there. Give them the resources to build people that can run floors and manage stuff, and then bring all the healthcare and everything in there. You know what I mean? Bring economic people that can give jobs and job training. And give them opportunities to have some space of their own. Let them have a space of their own immediately, right? Do this immediately. This is COVID season. The county just went out and spent, $8 million and started housing people because of COVID? Well, then this is another pandemic that we're dealing with right now. Let's deal with this emergency of people out here suffering and dying, right? And put them in these same spaces and give them the resources they need on an immediate tip. My goal is to be that person that mediates some of that conversation. So before they come getting swept through here and people start getting hurt and tear gas and rubber bullets and all stuff starts flying, let's say, okay, let's get these people in a place where, okay, we're going to cut some of this police budget and we're going to put some of the resources back into the community so you guys can have what you need. And then let's talk about long term, where ain't no black businesses on Capitol Hill. Ain't no black businesses hardly in the Central District. Like, we need black businesses. Help these people start putting money in place where we can have businesses open up, where we can have an education system for these people. I can just go down the line, but you get where I'm going with that? I'm just saying, let's go ahead and give these people what they need and find the money to do it immediately, and you can solve this problem.
Well, it sounds too that you're really doing a collaborative approach here, because you're right, it's going to involve all of those efforts, right? Health and wellness, education, land, businesses, economic justice. I mean, this really is the bag of all the tricks. I mean, it's what's needed not only in the CHOP, but that's really what the protesters were coming out for in the first place, was to really change this system. Thank you for bringing that to light, Dom. That was very good.
And how can people reach Community Pathways passageways?
Oh, communitypassageways.org is our website. You can go onto our website. We have a lot of information on there. You can volunteer, donate, whatever it is, find out the different programs we do. We're in schools. We're in the legal system. We're doing reentry. We're in the jail detention centers. We're trying to empty the detention center out. We had a meeting yesterday about getting everybody out the detention center, putting them on house arrest so our kids ain't locked up being isolated because of COVID, stuff like that. So we're working on all kind of different legislation and ordinances and everything. So I'm not just doing diversion in the community. I know you see me running around in the streets or whatever, but we got a lot of back hallway stuff that we're doing too. So.
Amazing work, Dom, with Community Passageway. Shout out to you and your team over there.
Thank you.
Great
I
work.
appreciate you guys, and I appreciate this platform you guys have built. I'm honored to be here.
Fantastic. It was great to have you here. We're going to take a short break right now. When we come back, we're going to recap the day's developments here. And also it's a lot of fellow media professionals that watch this show. You know what I'm saying? It would be great if people could also give some follow-up with Coach Dom. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to tell people about the uptick in gun violence that they're experiencing out there in South Seattle. So maybe we can help get some more spotlight as to what's going on out there. So we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we've got more of the Morning Update Show. All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. We're coming into our last segment. Before I talk about the day's events, got a real interesting tweet here from End Chop Now. And it says, the easy, cool, and laid-back style of the entrenched Chop reporting while youths getting gunned down in the streets is truly hard to stomach. So they're talking about me here. This is specifically in reference to Omari Saw. So let me tell you something, End Chop Now. You know what I'm saying? Growing up in this city, the very first person I saw murdered, 7 years old. You know what I'm saying? On 24th, right over there, right off of Cherry, in my front yard, 7 years old. I went to James A. Garfield High School. You know what I'm saying? Who I went to high school with. Merrick Murray, I was a high schooler. Murdered. You know what I'm saying? June, murdered. On and on and on and on. So you're right. I've had a lifetime before I was ever a professional, and now a professional, of talking and seeing murder right here in the Emerald City and other places around the world. So I'm sorry if my life experience here, since I was a small child and seeing people die, it's built something around me where I could sit here and be able to come back and talk about. But don't mistake that as the fact of somebody being uncaring, because you know what I also did yesterday is I talked to Lorenzo Anderson's mama. Have you I've talked to these parents out here. Have you, or are you just on Twitter? You see what I'm saying? I've dealt a lifetime now, decades of violence. Man, when Connor Dasa Holland was murdered out in Rainier Beach. I guess you wasn't watching my show then, were you? But see, we cover everything here. So it's good. You keep on being a Twitter gangster out there and telling us what we're not doing. My question to you, End Chop Now, is what are you doing?
Yes. Oh, yes. Put it out there. Oh said, you know what? I got this. Before we went live, oh, let me know he got this. And I'm going to tell you right now. Also, you didn't see our show yesterday. So I just got to say, literally yesterday, everybody was having to make sure you were okay, Omari, because your sentiment shined
and
through.
did the show anyway yesterday.
Yes, literally. So,
in a very emotional state for what I witnessed over here. So you take your sensationalism on Twitter and you take it somewhere else. Because one thing we do here is we keep it real.
Absolutely.
That being said, let me hit you with the recap.
Yes.
About 9 o'clock this morning over on 10th and Pike, the SDOT entered into the far western barricade where the cement blocks are. They came in with the fast-moving bulldozers. They cleared 10th Avenue from north to south, and they also cleared 10th Avenue where they cleared Pine from north to south and 10th Avenue from east to west. Who we saw on the scene besides SDOT was also Assistant Chief Adrian Diaz with a small contingent of Seattle police officers. They stayed kind of back to the side, although Chief Diaz did make himself available for questions. We spoke to him. At the same time, Seattle Parks Department had put up some signs saying that Cal Anderson Park would be closing today at 12 o'clock. As soon as SDOT cleared the area, and we had reported that it was going to be happening in a few days, as soon as SDOT actually cleared the area, the protesters came right back down, and it was like, SDOT was like, hey, we've moved a barricade, and the protesters were like, hold my beer. They came and they made their own barricade, and so they have a barricade there, which they said for two reasons, which they explained to us on camera. One was safety, and the other one's to protect the Black Lives Matter mural that's there. That being the case, we talked to SDOT Director Sam Zimbabwe, called him on the phone, put him on the speakerphone on the stream. He said that they're still trying to figure out their path forward with the mural that's in the street. But he said that their objective today was to clear 10th Avenue, and that's what they did. We didn't expect, although that helicopter is still above us, so we got to figure out what's going on outside. Didn't expect to take further action today, but we'll see what happens with that. We also talked to the people over at Human Services, and we read that text message there. They have their tent that's open on Pine and Broadway, just about 1 block, 2 blocks from the CHOP, to be able to provide services to the unhoused, the homeless that are living in a Tenton area. He put some stats out there, but I think they said 18 referred to shelters. They've engaged 123 or something like that, close to 120 people that are there. So as for today, we're going to follow up definitely on this helicopter. Yeah. We're going to follow up on that because it's been out there for the whole show. We're talking to quite a few other people. We want to be able to talk to Jay Johnson, who is the head of Human Services for the city. And we also want to be able to talk to the head of parks. And that's because they play a big role that's over there, especially since they've said that the park is closed. And we're going to just continue, you know what I'm saying, our coverage out here. I think we're on King 5 at 1 o'clock, where they're recording at least at 1 o'clock. But and we're continuing our conversations today with residents and business owners, because that's two groups you don't really hear a lot from. You hear from the politicians and you hear from the protesters, but we want to talk to actual residents that are living here, business owners. And also we're going out into the park today, I think in the 2 o'clock hour, and we're in up here to the tenant area, because we've getting a lot of reports of people missing from CHOP, especially women missing from the CHOP. And we just want to be able to follow it up. If nothing else, be able to get some pictures of people who are missing and be able to make that available to the public. So another full day out here as our coverage continues. Want to thank everybody for tuning in. Any last words, Trina?
Yeah, no, just a great show. I just loved being able to get that recap from Coach Dom, you know what I mean? And also just shout out to the crew. Amazing new cameras, y'all. You guys have no idea. So I'm very excited. I think that,
the new set's beautiful. Big shout out to the production crew.
Yeah, really. There's a lot to be excited for over here at Converge.
And thank you to the people who have donated.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And I hope that they can see little by little all these improvements that are made made through the donations of the general public, even, these wireless microphones, cameras, switchers, routers, things like that.
I
So,
definitely appreciate it, y'all.
all right. Looks like it's time to take a stand.
Yes.
We're going to get out of here for today. Morning Update Show is back tomorrow at 11 a.m. We'll have continuing coverage throughout the day. Until tomorrow, peace.
Peace.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought. Facing the rising sun.